this evening is Ciaran Blair. And Ciaran was making a speech of 10 to 12 minutes. The speech title is Foxrock Club Centenary Dinner. Now, I think this is an excerpt from it, is that correct, Ciaran? So he's not giving us the full speech tonight, but he's giving us the 10 to 12 minutes. Please, will you welcome Ciaran Blair with a speech entitled Foxrock Golf Club Centenary Dinner.
Before I start the time, I'd just like to start for a second. Just like to set the scene. There's 150 of you. You're mostly golfers. You've all had probably 2 gin and tonics before you sat down for the meal. You probably then drank a lot of wine, and you're all in great form. We're not in a small air-conditioned room with air blowing naturally across us. We're in the exact opposite. The reason I'm not doing the full speech is I think 25 minutes is just too long. And I haven't brought the props to do the ironing speech. So, what I thought I would do here this evening is just give you a setup of what happened. It was the 125th anniversary of Foxrock Golf Club. You can start the clock, sorry now. Of the Foxrock Golf Club. And Morris Pratt rang me and asked me if I would do the after dinner speech, and I was delighted to be asked. Because if, like us, we're trying to be professional, good speakers and even professional speakers, we need to speak to big audiences if they're stupid enough to listen to us. And I thought Foxrock Golf Club is a great place to practice. So I said I would be delighted to do it. I know Morris previously, we had caravans together down in British Bay and his kids grew up, our kids. But he asked in particular, could I do a funny speech, just be humorous, nobody wants to hear anything serious about Foxrock people going to war in the Second World War or any of that kind of stuff. He said, just be humorous, they've all had too much to drink. He said in particular he wanted my YouTube ironing speech included because he thought that was very funny. And he had seen me do it at a charity do down in British Bay where we were raising a bit of money for the local Vincent de Paul down there. I asked him, was there anything in particular he'd like me to say or avoid? And he said, absolutely not. He said, you think, say whatever you think is appropriate, I'll leave it totally to you. Later, I got this email from him saying, it might be better if you avoided race, colour, creed, women, sex, religion, bunkers, out of bounds, or golf rules. So I looked up my little black book to see had I got anything that fell outside of that category, and I didn't have very, very much. I asked him what was the name of the captain of Foxrock Golf Club and his wife's name and the lady captain, because it's important to build in people's names into speeches when you're doing it in that group. People like to hear their captain and vice captain insulted. So I got their names. And I said to Morris, when he introduced me, I'd like him to give me a golf prize. There was no golf prize for visitors. So his introduction was, and now I'd like to introduce Ciaran Blair, our after dinner speaker, and because he couldn't play in our golf competition today, I'd like to give him this prize. So I looked totally surprised and said, Mr. President, I've won plenty. I dare say 20 or more golf prizes, from cups on plinths in natural tints to salvers of various sizes. I've won Waterford glass and balls en masse on links and inland courses, and bottles of wine for the best back nine coming from various sources. I've won vouchers galore for the highest score, and some of them were cat. But in spite of drink, well, strike me pink, I've never won a prize like that. I won the captain's prize for impossible lies when I was over bar the shouting, and a Calor gas fire, which I didn't admire, in Portmarnock at a Christmas outing. I've won cheap ashtrays on company days, and bells and Parker pens, and rugs and mugs, and a porcelain jug, and a mat for Mercedes-Benz. I won a broken out box of mouldy chocks and a book about a vampire bat, which upon my soul is a pain in the hole. But I've never won a prize like that. Now they say when you start, the important part, it's not winning, it's playing the game. And I don't give a dicky if the prizes, Mickey. It's an honour to win, just the same. I won a book that thick about how to trick a vibrator with a broken fuse, and a cake stand plated which some asshole donated and broke on the first time used. I won a plastic mat and some bric-a-brac in the Grange from a man called Matt, which I never even kept. But Jesus wept. I've never won a prize like that. I won plaque for walls and Excerpt balls. I even won a Japanese fan. I brought home more loot, like loads in the boot and some in the garbage can. Fake objets are not worth a fart as a cure against inflation, and a cure for piles made from natural oils at a medical invitation. I won a torch, a dandy which comes in handy for looking in the dark for your hat or a needle in the hay. But merciful Jay, I've never won a prize like that. I won a set of Delph, you listening, Michael, for the pantry shelf for coming first in my class. An electric saw in the clubhouse drawer without getting off my ass. When I played up north, I won a pair of shorts with the most peculiar broken fly, gave me a nip on the top of my Danny boy. On a Scottish trip, I won a plastic print and a haggis which I turned down flat because of the smell. Well, bloody hell, I never won a prize like that. A day for a lark up in Holsteer Park, I won a hank of fish, a lump of cod, how very odd, served on a willow pattern dish. As an Easter do, I was one of the few to win a side of lamb. And for a Christmas bash, I gave it a lash and I won a turkey and a ham. I've won more booze than I can lose, than I can use, and some came in a vat, which holy nuns gave me the runs, but I've never won a prize like that. At this stage, the 150 people go into big applause, so you can do that now, because I'm So now I'm going to give you the bones of the speech, and just a tip for somebody giving a long speech. It's good to have something you're familiar with at the beginning, do the patter bit in the middle, and finish with something you know, in my case, the ironing speech at the end. If you're going to speak for 25 minutes and you're not really professionally, that's how you cheat to do it. So I was a bit worried about what to say. So I rang the man's captain, Kevin, and to be honest, he wasn't a great help. I asked him, what sort of a crowd would he expect? And he said, they'll be much like yourself, sophisticated, educated, and by the time you get to speak to them, probably very intoxicated. But this wasn't the level of detail that I needed, so I rang his wife, Samantha, see if I could get a better fit breakdown by age and sex. What would really work here? But she said, don't worry about it. She says, up in this club, we're mostly broken down by age and sex. She told me that she was a pure blonde, and the one thing that I should really avoid was blonde jokes. I said, blonde jokes? What kind of a joke do you mean? As if I didn't know. Oh, she said, you know the one about the two blondes who walked into a building? You'd think one of them would have seen it. I asked her, had she heard about the blonde who thought she was a magician? She turned her card into a tree. I asked her what her husband's favourite joke was, and he said, well, it's a Tommy Cooper joke. He said it's about the guy who goes into a psychiatrist and he's just wearing cling film instead of his shorts. The psychiatrist says, I can clearly see your nuts. Thinking back to what Morris Pratt said, I didn't really have any story that fell into the areas that he said I couldn't, sex, colour, creed. But I did think of one joke it hit all of the subjects that I wasn't supposed to mention, so I thought I'd try it anyway. It concerned an elderly gentleman, about 85, who went into a Catholic church in Belfast, and he said to the priest, "I'd like to do a confession." And the priest said, "Do you mean make a confession?" He said, "Well, whatever has to be done, I'd like to do it." And the priest said, "Well, do you want to do it here, or will we go into the confession?" "Look," he said, "I've never made one before." "Look," said the priest, "do you mind if I ask how old are you?" He said, "I'm 85. The priest said, "Is there any reason why I haven't made a confession before?" He says, "I'm not a Catholic, does it matter?" "Look," said the priest, "is there something you'd like to tell me?" He said, "Yes." He said, "Last night," he said, "I made mad, passionate love to a beautiful 23-year-old big bosom French lady." He said, "Why are you telling me?" He says, "I'm telling everybody." By the way, Morris asked me to clarify a few rules. He said, there has been, although we mentioned not to mention it, says there has been some trouble in the golf club. He said, first of all, if you play a wrong ball in golf, it's not actually called a whoopsie. Just don't play your wrong ball. If your ball is misplaced, it's generally lost. It's not a Houdini. I don't know where these words are coming from in Foxrock. I know one of the members complained that his ball was stolen in the club. That was not a filchy. It was just a stolen ball. We're getting all these peculiar words, and they're creeping into the bar over drinks, and people are asking for most peculiar drinks in the bar, and this has got to stop. Foxrock has a reputation as an upper class kind of club, Morris explained to me. And I said to the audience, yes, I understand that. You really have to stop using these words. He mentioned that somebody had played a suicidal shot very recently. Do you know what he called it? An evil Knievel. There is no such expression in golf as an evil Knievel. By the way, when I came in, I was very surprised to see the consultant doctor on table 8 down there who took out my gallbladder last year. He said not to worry about the operation. It's very simple. It's very straightforward. After the operation, and I saw the bill, I said to him, why is the operation so expensive if it's so simple and so straightforward? He explained he had 4 girls in Mount Anvil and 3 boys in Blackrock. Now at this stage in Foxrock, I would have repeated my ironing speech. I've gone about 10 to 11 minutes. And my ironing speech in competition is 7.5 minutes, but when told the way I tell it when it's not in competition, it runs about 8.5 minutes. And that then is a 20-minute speech as you would deliver it professionally. I'm the chairman.